You can. Okay. Okay, we are live. Nope. And so we are.
All right, so we just came out of executive session. Special presentations have been canceled. And now we have unfinished business.
Okay, so I guess I'm first up, right? So we talked about this at the work session. This is an email from the Ohio Department of Taxation. I almost said transportation. That shows what a renewal of the renewal of our 0.75% income tax would bring in, and what the equivalency in millage would be. So if we ask the community to do a new operating levy that was based on property values, we would have to ask for 11.54 mils rather than just the 0.75 and earned income. And so the earned income would bring in 2.3. If we were taxing all income, it would bring in 2.9. I think that's what that says. So we're only asking for earned income, which is a direct renewal of what we have currently for a period of 5, not to exceed 5 years. Right? So the other thing is that I put out here today, which if I can get this to work, is the levy history.
Yes.
For us. Let's see. It doesn't like me today. Take forever. Okay, and so I added. Get back down to this part. The recent issue that was on the ballot in March. As you can see, previously they were in May, but with all the changes made by the legislators, we had to do March. And so that issue was defeated as continuing. And those are the numbers that was pulled off the official notice from the Board of Elections. My concern is we need to have a committee put together. There's new laws that say I can't participate in the committee, but I can give and answer questions. That's where my role would end, right? And I think that also applies to the superintendent. So we have to have some kind of levy committee to sort of help us get this through. Because in November of 1990 and November of 2014, it was defeated, but it also passed in November 2019. So, yeah. So we can give it our best shot, hopefully. So just wanted to give you guys an update on what the levy history looks like currently. Oh, okay, unless anybody has any questions.
So how do we go about the levy committee? Is that just like we need normal committee? Is it?
You just ask for volunteers. No, it's not a board committee or anything. It would
Okay.
be something that, volunteer group or, group of people will do and assist. So,
Okay,
yeah.
and now we just solicit it, we just send it out. All right, next up, we have the annexation discussion. Do you wanna kick that off, Natalie, or you wanna say anything, start it, or?
I don't know if you wanted to go first, you were listed first, so I was gonna follow up.
Okay.
Whatever you.
Do that. So, first off, what we wanted to update was that we met with a developer on the 22nd of April, and that was Mr. Keebler. And, it was myself and Natalie and Mrs. Hageman and Mr. Crispin, and that was it. And then Mr. Keebler, of course. And he had requested the meeting, and so Mr. Crispin had set it up. We just kept it with the 2 board members, so we didn't have to have a whole the board meeting and all that. And then we want to make sure, for transparency's sake, that everybody was aware of what was discussed during that meeting. And can you bring up the slide deck that I sent you? It's just the second slide, it'll have the one with the map on it. So he had, Mr. Keithor had offered to attend a town hall, although he did say, and then go down to the. Right there. And then he had offered to do a town hall, although he did admit that he'd probably be attacked. And so, but if it was a town hall where he could answer questions, he was willing to answer questions. Land was negotiable for a school. It would be, and so those two blocks right there, the first white one on the bottom right there. That was the first one that he identified, but then I asked him for a map and he sent me the second one. So basically, this one right here was the first one, and that would be where an elementary building would go. And so he would donate the land, but we'd have to buy the building. And that would be approximately within that 2-mile radius that you required for busing. So apparently our policy states that, or is it maybe ORC?
Yeah, it's Ohio Department of Ed or due now, but if kids live within 2 miles or less, they can walk. If
Okay.
they're over 2 miles, then you transport.
Okay, and so that's why the first selection was there. This is 40 and that's 201 and then that's 202. And then when he sent me this map, then he had also proposed option number 2 over there. But again, the gist of it was to keep within that 2-mile radius. So we would save on the busing. So that's something that was negotiable.
And Jackie, I'll just add, because you're talking about that, we asked about how much land that would be, and he said it approximately about 20 acres.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, and then he owns 200, well, his company or the developer owns 200 of the 290 acres that are in question or up, that are open. It'd be a 12 to 15 year build out, break ground approximately 2 years. First, they have to do some sewer work through Miami County, and then after that, then they can start breaking ground on the houses. The housing, the lot size are going to be 50 by approximately 150.
130.
130, yeah. So basically, whatever they can fit on the lot, it'll be house. And, I mean, they could probably just weed whack around the house and that's the yard. We had asked about any kind of larger than that, especially if the annexation doesn't go through, and then if they, request to build through Bethel Township. That didn't sound like it was a go for them, that they
Right.
really want to pack in as many.
Wouldn't be worth their time and effort, no profit to them, so.
Right. So they're not interested in anything larger than 50 by 150. And then the makeup of that, it could be some senior citizen homes, some, stuff like that. But for the most part, they're gonna start at that $500,000 family type of home. And then go up from there. They'll have different levels and stuff, but that's what they're looking at. He had mentioned, oh, well, it's gonna be packed, basically. The township fights the annexation, we're in the crossfire. We should negotiate now for land in the event the annexation passes. So he did say that the longer this carries out, the longer that they have to pay legal fees to fight everybody to not let them move in, then the less likely that they'll have the money available or be able to offer us up anything. And I'm just repeating what he said. I'm just repeating what he said. But that was what he said. And again, we're not, we didn't go in there with we were very clear that we don't want this any more than the rest of the community does. However, if it's going to happen, it's not going to be something that we're going to stop. So if we are able to get some land out of it, if it does have to be, we'd rather get the land than not. And then have to build more out here, and then that's just all extra busing. He did predict about 1,200 homes. And again, that's just what he told us. And then, we asked about other negotiable items such as a field house or expansion or renovation to the middle school and high school, because as all those kids come out of elementary, those classes are growing, and then we're gonna have to put them somewhere here. It really didn't sound like anything else was negotiable other than maybe some land for the elementary building. And then can you scroll up, I think? Nope, maybe not. Oh, and so then, that was the developers meeting. So do you guys have any questions about that? Or whatever I missed, Natalie?
The only other thing I want to add to supplement what you said is that I asked what type of housing they would start with first. And he indicated, well, there was some flexibility in that. And of course, the market demand would drive most of that. But he said he could consider doing some housing for like the 50 to 75 age group, if that would help buy some time. Do you believe me? I'll be quiet. I'm here to get facts.
Mhm.
Because I know what they sold CT one.
We're not gonna dispute any.
Right. So.
But that was what happened during that meeting. It was
It's
about an hour and a half.
So it probably premature then to that anything like a TIF or anything was discussed.
It came up in conversation.
Yeah, he mentioned a non-school TIF, which I didn't know existed, and I still haven't found out that it does exist. So
What is
I don't
that?
know what that means, so we're gonna have to talk about that further.
Did you mention like a $25,000 surcharge for each new home? That would go towards the building, directly to the building fund? I think Andy thought of that one.
Well, we had talked about that because it had come up when we had the first town hall in about 2015 or 2016. And that's when that town hall kind of got out of control. That was one of the items when that was brought up, because it is a tactic, strategy, approach that they do down in the south, like south of the US, not just Ohio, southern US. And he said that it would not make it tenable for them to proceed that way. And he said that years ago as well, so I kind of expected that. Would you remember any other things about that you want to share?
Yeah, other than we did ask about impact fees, and basically, he really didn't sound like he wanted to spend any more money than necessary, and at most, it would be the land. Is really all, and quite honestly, right, and we're not in a position to negotiate, we can't say, well, give
No,
us
we can't.
impact fees
Yeah.
or
We don't have any.
what? We have,
Yeah, we don't have any.
we have
input,
nothing, we
yeah.
have nothing to negotiate, we have nothing. And then, and he did keep continually saying he was pro-education, his kid's going to Ohio State, and
No, it's not.
he kept saying that, but then when we asked, well, can you help us with this, or can you do this, and he's like, you know, it's gonna hurt for a while. It's gonna hurt for a few years, 5, 6, 10 years, and then eventually it should stop hurting.
Oh,
For the most part,
5, 6, 10 years, but it's gonna take 12 to 15 to finish all the houses.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's no way to predict, so granted that we're assuming that it's gonna be a big another flood for elementary kids, and that's why with the elementary building and stuff like that. But $500,000 homes, what's to say that we don't get people, because he did tell us that the 70-75 interchange is the hot commodity. That is what's bringing everybody to this area, it's not really, you know, Huber Heights per se.
it's Bucky's.
Yeah, I mean, but all that, so there's nothing to say that people from Columbus or Cincinnati or all this are not gonna start moving here because they get the country life, but then they can telework and stuff like that, or then drive to Columbus, so.
We're not on a 50 by 100 lot.
Was
Well-
it discussed what to, like possible, even just looking into redistricting for the second phase, this Carriage Trail?
He asked it, did we ask him that?
Did you
No,
just, we didn't know
no,
we threw
yeah.
that out?
No, because it really went, all he wants is the land and build homes. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Right, but it's a lot less attractive if it's not in that
Fewer
home.
homes, yeah.
Mhm.
I
But he
did
doesn't
read,
believe that,
I did read something
Oh,
where
I bet he
both
does.
districts
or maybe he does, he didn't lead
have to
to,
agree.
yeah.
Both districts have to agree, I did
Mhm.
read that, and so. Huber would categorically reject that, I'm sure.
But didn't they
They-
say at their meeting that they would take them?
Yeah, they said they have plenty of room for them. I thought,
Well, I don't know, I don't know anybody so far has opened up their school doors to say, come on and come to our school, so.
Yeah, send us your 1,000 extra kids, I don't,
And we don't even know which 1,000, if they're all gonna be elementary, if they're gonna be elementary and high school, if they're gonna be all middle school, we don't even know.
I mean, but in this squeeze of avarice and greed are the kids. who are the, you know, unvoiced victim in all this, as these two entities battle for who's going to get the last dollar. It's the kids who will suffer only for 10 years, which is almost the whole time they're in school. And it's unconscionable that adults can't see and own that, and I don't know how you negotiate with people who don't want to accept the consequences of what their actions are going to inflict upon 900 to 1,000 kids and an entire community, so I don't know.
Cause a fair growth plan would be, and a development plan would be, okay, we're gonna start doing the sewer, the utilities, infrastructure, and then we're gonna start bringing in some more businesses, and then we're going to build the schools to accommodate, and then we're going to bring the houses in, but it's not gonna happen. It's absolutely not. And so,
And it sounded like maybe even like the school is maybe, I mean,
just the land, it's not even.
just the land, right?
Yes.
But it's like if I'm feeling,
Well, like he said,
know,
that,
If I'm doing well enough, then I'll give you the land for the school.
like he said, that basically it depends on how much it costs them in legal fees. So the longer this draws out, then the more legal fees they pay, the more that comes out of their bottom line, the less likely is they're gonna give up, 20 acres.
so basically, don't fight it, yeah.
Yes,
This is all we're gonna give you, so don't fight it.
nothing more, nothing less.
Wow, he actually said that the school could lead the way, and at one point, he talked about jumping US 40, and I said, that's a township issue. That has nothing to do with the school conversation. And that needed to be handled outside.
Yes,
So
because
we're
he
trying
made
to
some
keep
other
it
comments about other district township business that, that it didn't pertain to us, so we just moved on. But, so out of that, the one question I think I would have right now is, do we want a town hall with him? To answer community questions,
Well, it might make people enraged enough that they'll go do something. I mean, when they hear, maybe, I don't.
he did offer that up, so.
Now you were gonna say something.
Oh, well, that's okay. It was just one last comment, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
All of that, but I think you might have alluded to the homes being built, like how long that took. So he said, yeah, probably wouldn't be until the 2026 school year, where the kids could start coming in a greater amount. So right, 2025, 2026.
Yeah, he said 2 years after
2
the
years.
sewer is
So-
done.
If it got voted,
Or, I
if
mean,
it got
2 years
approved
from
this
now.
summer, allow those 2 years. He didn't expect them to hit the door even next school year. Kind of in the middle, maybe January of 26, that would probably put it at.
Yeah, it wasn't after the sewer got put in, it'll be 2 years to get through all the sewer stuff, and then that's when he'd start building.
So, I'm sorry,
Well, that's-
just wanted to add that.
So do we wanna, do you guys want us to reach out to him and ask for a town hall?
I'm next only because I'm not sure. We could.
We can survey the community, but I mean,
He does.
oh, well.
But I think that, I mean. Sure, I'll offer him up on his desk.
I kind of think a town hall should come through the township, because they're the ones doing the negotiating.
It would be nice to do something in conjunction with,
I think that's,
and even Huber,
So do you want me to
I mean, I don't know.
go forward with seeing
What
what
do
we
you
can
think,
do?
what do you think, Ian?
If we had a township or a town hall, what would it accomplish? It sounds like he's got his mind made up. It would accomplish nothing.
Yeah, we don't have.
Where he's sitting.
Yeah, it would only basically just, he would regurgitate what he told us. Basically, the plan is for the 1,200 homes, the plan is,
Yeah.
yes.
And I mean, everybody can get up in an uprage and uproar and attack him, but it's not gonna accomplish a thing. Doing it with, in conjunction with possibly township and Huber. Still don't think it accomplishes anything. I mean, ultimately, the only thing I see is the redistricting or, sending, having Huber. Having Huber accepted. I think that was pretty much shut it down.
Yeah. If they were, I mean, if they were advertising country living Heber Heights schools, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the deal. I don't understand how they can chew up land in a different county. I
agree,
guess
the
is-
whole county.
I mean, they are eating into the tax base of Miami County, so I don't know why there's no leverage. I don't understand it.
The
So,
law 2003 gave them that privilege to take the land. It's
Yeah,
legal plunder.
so I don't know.
I mean, I remember the last town hall. and
Yeah,
that
it was
kind of a-
pretty violent.
well, what about meeting again with them to seriously talk about, the land? Just in case it should go through.
I'd be
Well-
afraid of what devil you're making deals with. But that's just my opinion.
I did ask if, that reminds me that, I did ask
It's called legal plunder.
when's the right time to come to him. And of course, he said the sooner the better, but I think there's that.
I haven't expected.
I mean, we just need to consider what's the right time for that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the trustee, the township is who's doing that negotiating really with the annex, we're just. Fodder, you know,
Yeah, we just, I mean, we don't have any.
and we don't have any. Pull,
So maybe if it gets approved, then go back and reach out.
I guess, yeah,
I mean, I think we can
Yeah.
continue to talk about,
yeah,
Okay.
it. I mean,
Because
And
I've already kind of laid a little bit of that interest in our conversation.
And then I had a couple more questions and points on annexation, but that was it for the developers meeting, so. I won't reach out for a town hall, and we won't do anything yet for asking for the land for this.
yeah. Be nice to put informational flyers to everybody. Especially Carriage Trail One, to tell them what's coming.
Okay, so, we already discussed, we met with the developer. And then, we had, Mrs. Butler and myself had met with, a member who was a prior Weaver Heights board member, just looking for some feedback. He was on the board when the last annexation had kind of gone through. And just to get a feel, put the feelers out, but we didn't gain any new information out of that, would you say that there's? So we tried there, it looks like 6 September is the deadline, and then, sorry for the table. Possible vote in the summer, maybe, for the annexation, that's what, that we've heard. The redistricting research, so this is very important, we want to bring this up because we have gotten, some feedback from, the community members, that when we had asked about redistricting, a lot of people are nervous that we meant that we're gonna redistrict Carriage Trails 1.0. That is not at all our intentions. We strictly just want to know what the rules were, because it came up that we've been told, oh no, you'll never be able to redistrict because we've tried it in the past and we can't get by the state because we can't check all the boxes required to do it. And we just want to make sure that was a true statement. And then because things change and stuff like that. And so we were just merely looking at our options. If anything would be redistrict, we would ask for the Carriage Trails 2.0 as an option to be redistricted, but not Carriage Trails 1.0. That ship has sailed, that they are in this school district, they are part of this community, so that it was never our intentions. We're just trying to reach out and figure out what else. We're trying to be proactive, not reactive. So that was that. Then 4 of us attended the Huber Heights April Council meeting. 3 of us made statements, and then a teacher had also made a statement via one of the board members. And so we did make it known that we cannot take more people. We had tried to use data, we tried real world examples, hardship, I mean, you name it, we tried every angle. And I mean, no, it fell on deaf ears.
And I just want to state that, that's specific to this April 2024 meeting, but I know several of us have been going for over 2 years. I know, at least once a month and have spoken nearly every single time with a lot of blank responses, but you have to try. You have to go and try, because if you don't,
I brought my daughter last year. They
Yeah,
made her speak.
that's what I mean. And May
That's
20,
important.
in May, there was a very good contingent of Bethel Township residents. And a lot of people spoke that don't normally come to all the other like board meetings and township meetings. So we had a really good outpouring of community residents that were concerned and spoke. So that was nice. Thank you.
And then ideas, just trying to figure out something, maybe a Bethel Township collaboration. I don't know if we should meet with those guys or what. I mean, this is their fight, but we're in the crossfire. So if there's something else that we can be doing on our end to help that, and then possibly meet with the mayor. So I don't know, maybe, so it would either be two of us, all of us. But then it has to be public, and then we probably want to do that. So I guess I would lean towards, I mean, it did help with the meeting with the developer, and he did offer, I should say too, he did offer to meet with all of you. He offered to, you know, reach out to you and then the other two, but we can't because of the sunshine law. So that wasn't, it had to be, public. So our option, if everybody thinks we should meet with the mayor, it's gotta, most likely, I think I would go for the two people and then come back and be brief. Otherwise, it's gonna be a public meeting, and, I mean, we can have a public meeting. I mean, we're not hiding anything, we're not trying to hide anything, but I don't know which is best. Just throwing out some ideas, and anything else that anyone else can think of.
So think about it.
I think anytime that we can involve or ask the trustees to be a part of those meetings would be a good option as well.
So does anybody know for sunshine laws, can 2 school board members and 2 township members?
Just one township could attend each time.
Oh, and 1 board member, so it's,
No, one township person, because there's only 3 of them.
oh,
And
okay,
then 2 of us could attend, so there could be 3 people.
okay, so that wouldn't violate the sunshine law, because it's not 3 board members.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay,
Not on the same day.
gotcha, okay. Yeah, so, I could reach out to the township and, or anybody, I mean, actually, if you wouldn't mind, or somebody.
Or Julie, sure, Julie's listening. Hello.
Well, okay, okay, yes.
Somebody may be
Somebody will-
reaching out.
But, well, okay, so.
And then you guys can decide if one of you all wanted to do that, but we're just gonna throw.
I didn't mean to exclude you, I was just trying to not. Keep it on the forward and then we'll go back. So. But if. What do you guys want? What,
Yeah, I think it's good, it'd be good to have, do 2 and 1.
mhm,
I think it shows that we are aligned and, you know, we're all on the same page when that happens.
We're not gonna lay down.
Right, and we're all getting the same information, right? You know, so they're not hearing it from us, we're not hearing it from them. Everybody's getting the same information at the same time, and I always think that that's best.
okay, and then, do you want me to reach out to the township? Do you want to reach out to the township? Who wants to initiate this? Or who do you want to initiate this?
Well, I mean, I've already spoken with Mr. Keithler. So if you're talking about with the mayor or with Mr. Keithler, there's,
No, so I think Mr. Keithler is done, right? I think
Yeah.
that ship is sailed. We
Mayor.
met with him, he's offered his input, we got it. Unless something changes or if we go back
well, I know the
after.
mayor's opinion, so if you all want to meet with them, I know where he stands. 'Cause I've
Exactly.
gotten a lot of feedback. from my
Exactly.
comments, So I know where he stands, so,
It would be, don't think it's gonna be helpful, I mean,
no, you guys.
Not with the mayor. It won't be helpful.
Can I ask a question of Julie?
sure.
Julie, have you guys met with the mayor?
Not this round, but we did go to a Hoover Heights meeting, all 3 of us went last you know, before they decided not to vote on it and then resubmit it with the extra 35 acres. So we are not actively negotiating with them now. The trustees don't have any say in annexation, as you know. So I go to the meetings, one, to represent the township and speak out against it, mostly on behalf of the school, because that's our biggest problem, along with traffic and the fact that it's changing. Culturally, it's changing the township. We're losing the country feel, et cetera, et cetera. We do have a tip on the properties right now, so I suspect eventually we will negotiate with them. You know, if they pass it. I am the trustee representative to the school board. So
Do you think it would be advantageous to meet with the mayor?
the mayor definitely has his mind made up. I was taking some notes. One thing is, it may be good to have that town hall as a joint thing with the Huber Heights Council. You're talking about inviting Huber Heights, because they're the ones that need to be convinced that this is a bad idea. And I don't think they have all the information yet. A lot of them are new. They've got, 3 new people.
Right.
So they're the ones that probably need convincing. And if you have a town hall and they see, you know, that might be more of an eye opener to them than, you know, the same 2 or 3 of us going to every meeting and saying, don't do this.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
They're the ones voting.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
So we would want
So
to,
maybe that's better.
so reach out to, would you call them the lead council, the human lead council, and then ask them if they wanna have a town hall with both us and then, and the township. Does anybody wanna do that? Do you need to do that, or how do you?
I mean, I don't know who, I don't know.
I don't either of those. They must have like a lead person. You,
I mean, I guess I can, if,
would you?
yeah,
You're getting moved on vacation.
well. That, yeah, depends on when, but, they already, I know they had talked about scheduling one, but we haven't heard anything more about when they plan to do that, so. Might be just good to follow up with them and ask that question. They may know when it is, we just may not know that they have it scheduled already.
Well, I talked to one of the council members and she said there'd been no discussion about one.
Right.
And she didn't think that they had any plans to do it.
Well, then, I'll definitely ask them, because that'll spur, yeah.
Maybe, okay, all right, yes, if you would please, thank you. And then if you need anything, just let me know. Oh, okay, all right, so I think that's where we'll end with that, we'll just try and do a town hall in Cuba Heights and another township. Is there anything else that you guys want to discuss on annexation? Okay.
Okay, I reread it, I'm sorry, it said that if Bethel had a meeting, that they would also be involved, but they weren't going to have the meeting, does that make sense? They'd come to
They were
ours,
gonna initiate.
they'd come to ours, but they weren't gonna have their own.
Oh, so we hosted it and they. I mean, they're gonna be the ones that are blasted. I mean, they're gonna be the ones that are addressed.
I'll still follow up.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Appreciate it. Okay, and then going on, now we have community comments.
Follow up. I'm gonna comment, follow up.
Yeah,
Right.
follow up to the community comments.
Okay. Mrs. Hughes asked me a few questions last time. I'm gonna see if I can get them all answered for her. And the first one was, can a TIF agreement be rescinded? So any kind of change to any existing TIF agreement would need to be agreed to by all parties. And it would be something, it would include eliminating any kind of TIF. As your treasurer, I'd be remiss if I didn't, say, I don't suggest that, except especially currently with the TIFs that we have in place, because we collected 4.9 million this year alone, on that TIF for, Carriage Trails 1.0. And so, you know, that's roughly $3,200 a kid that's attending here, because last count was 1,404. So the answer to the question, I guess, is no, it can't be rescinded. It would be eliminating the TIF, and it would have to be an across the board agreement, but I really have not found anything where that's even been done. So, yeah, I couldn't find anything that says we can even do that. So, but it just says any changes or amendments has to be approved by all members of the TIF, all parties. Differences between an executive secretary, secretaries, and assistant. Executive secretary is an administrative position. That's Mrs. Piron, who's the assistant to the superintendent. She works directly with the superintendent, and then she's exempt, meaning that she works more than 8 hours if we need her to. She doesn't get overtime. She's not an hourly employee because she has access to confidential information, and she's his or her, whoever the superintendent will be. Assistant, building secretaries, as well as department secretaries, such as special ed and maintenance, that's on your classified salary schedule. Those are your secretaries. And then assistants to the treasurer, they're also on the classified salary schedule. And those are accounting positions within my office. So it's accounts payable, receivables, HR assistants, payroll assistant, that kind of thing. So, that's really the difference in the three. So there's that. Pass the ball on to you.
Thank you. All right, then the other one is the board has received some inquiries on bathroom usage. And so this is the official statement from the board. The board had hoped that we could issue a position statement tonight regarding bathroom usage by our students. After discussions with our risk pool, which is similar to an insurance carrier, public discussions pertaining to this topic at this time are not prudent because litigation remains pending. We are currently engaged in settlement dialogue in one of the 2 pending pieces of litigation and filing documents in the second. Finally, due to the sensitivity of ongoing litigation, we will not be adding to the prepared statement or answering questions from the community. And then I'd like to make a motion to adopt this statement as an official statement from the school board.
I'll second.
No more discussion. Would you take roll call?
Mrs. Leskowich,
Yes?
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
And now we have public participation, agenda item. Mrs. Donahue?
Yeah, I do have a few concerns on the agenda. Things on the agenda. I know at the work session, you guys discussed Chromebooks. And that's on there tonight. I did a little research on that. I know some of you didn't agree with, we're on an 8-year rotation and then, or they have an 8-year life expectancy, but after 4 years, they're basically going to be given to a student.
Well, 9.
Not, so that is
We changed
changed.
that. We asked them.
So that's not gonna happen, so, so you're gonna keep it on a different rotation, because I thought,
No, they're gonna turn them in. So it's still, and does it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an 8-year tech refresh. But what he was doing was charging $25 per quarter or per year, and then that covered up the $100, and then he was gonna allow, he meaning the IT was gonna allow the students to take the Chromebooks. But we had said that'd be better if you just let them, if they wanna buy them back at the end, that's fine. But if you give them away after 4 years, it's not truly an 8-year tech refresh, because you're giving away Chromebooks that still have 4 more useful years of life on them. So that was what we ended up discussing in the work session last week, was that we will just offer up if they wanna buy the Chromebook their senior year, that's fine. If not, they'll just turn them back in. But it is an 8-year tech refresh, and they will turn them back in after 4 years.
So they're not gonna get keep. Cause they go to college, they're not gonna want. those
Unless they
credits.
want it, I mean, if
Well,
they
yeah,
Unless they want,
It's,
I mean,
Then
someone said
they can
something
buy it.
about,
and they'll buy it at whatever the appreciated value is, whatever you get them, you know, if you had to turn them in.
right, someone said something about, well, they could use it at college, well, I can guarantee you, they're not gonna use those at college, they're gonna want to get.
Yeah, we said the same.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that's what it's gonna be done. I know it was discussed with the.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the next one was on the curriculum map development. Seen on the agenda that we're gonna go forward with the hiring. So now there's like 27 teachers that you're gonna hire. So is there a cap on that? Is there, I mean, isn't that really supposed to be done during the school year?
We'd have to do it.
I know you discussed it during the work session.
I think it'll be disgusting.
Okay, because that's a lot. of Teachers to work on something. Personally, a lot of money, but nothing against the teachers, but. The list just kept getting bigger and bigger of the teachers from work session, so I think I counted 27 teachers.
You know, it does take a lot to curriculum map. It's more like a think tank as opposed to just two people sitting down and doing it this way. So you do need to have a pretty good group of people to bounce off ideas and how would you approach it and how would you take this standard apart and how would you approach it? So I don't know that the number of teachers that we have listed is out of what we need to do, and it won't take all summer to do it.
Well, that's one of the questions, is this something that's ongoing for the whole year, or is this just a summer project?
Just the months listed on the agenda, I think it
What's-
goes from 22 May to in August.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I didn't see.
It was, I didn't see any dates on that.
What else is it?
I thought it was all great.
You said
It was summer months listed.
Most of it didn't.
May
Yeah.
22nd through August 10th.
Yeah.
Okay, and that must have been added from the last time that I looked at.
And I will say, from what I say, I mean, I can't talk education and stuff or whatever, because I don't quite understand all what they do, but it was discussed before that we really need that, and they weren't being able to do it during the school year. So, and it's with all the elementary, it's for all the elementary needs, and so we looked at it, or I looked at it as it was a good thing to improve our education. So I didn't,
Well, I'm not saying it, I'm just saying that's a lot of hours, $35. I'm just questioning it, because you
Yeah.
guys even discussed it at the work session, how necessary it was. I didn't even know what curriculum map development was until I found out, but I also think that that's something that.
we did learn a while ago that it's something that should have been being done, and it has not been being done. So I do know that too.
I found out that too. So. You're probably not gonna answer this, so your statement tonight is your statement on the resolution. What you just gave tonight, your statement.
For right now.
Well, I also wanna make it publicly known that I do know there was a settlement given to the board. From both litigating cases. And I also know that you rejected it. I thought it was a good settlement. It could have been a way that could have let you be able to do what the main campaign, and I'm talking to the 3 that ran on the board, not Natalie, not Rachel. But it was mainly one campaign issue that you ran on, and that was the restroom policy. And I just have to say how disappointed I am. And how embarrassed I am, how much the community supported you 3 on that issue. And I know you think it's because of the lawsuits, but I don't think it is. And I think you're being misrepresented by the attorneys, counseling in the school. And the lawsuits are gonna go forward no matter what. And what I have been told as far as what's gonna be going forward, you'd be sued either way. Doesn't matter. You're being sued now, you'll be sued the other way. But I have to make it publicly known how disappointed I am. And the support that this community give you on that one issue to run and to have 5 new members on the board now. Disappointed, and the work and the time and the effort and the money that we put in and the hope that we had for that resolution to come forward. And I just wanted to publicly make that statement so that you don't. Thank you.
Mrs. Juice.
Okay, I've added a couple things. So, so that's, so you don't have to take all the minutes.
Thank you.
So just a couple more things on annexation, I just want to quickly say. They do want the elementary school, despite if you keep spending money, we're not gonna give it to you because it is a good sell for their development. And the parents love school, so don't let them tell you otherwise. My other question is, you guys need to find out if they do donate land, I'm assuming it would belong to the Bethel board. But one thing you need to make sure of is that either you get the Huber Heights city tax waived for the staff that's working there, or is there some deal where they work for Bethel up here and then don't pay that tax? So that's gonna be an issue, because it'll be in their thing. And then also, if they do come to a town hall that's up here, we need to get as many Huber folks to come and speak as possible, because that's the one thing that's missing a lot in the meetings down there. Okay, so back to the agenda. On the community comments, I love the idea of addressing the community questions and concerns in the unfinished business section of the agenda. We used to do this all the time. I see that the document that was there is gone. But I and others have raised many questions both verbally and through email, yet only selected questions and concerns were addressed in the document. And it wasn't discussed at the work session. So the process seems like it should be to take the community member concerns, discuss it among the board in open session, come up with the collective response from the board, and then deliver it at the regular business meeting and unfinished business. And I used to keep a running list, so we have what all the open items were, so they could be addressed at the next or subsequent meeting. Financial questions. 5-year forecast includes 11.5% increase for the new pay scale and base raise, along with additional staff and a 5.5% increase for retirement. Health insurance is flat for 2024 and a 5% increase is forecasted for fiscal year 25-28. So are the 11.5% for salaries and the 5.5% for retirement, is that in each year? Like 11.5 this year, 11.5 next year, 11.5. I couldn't get the numbers to reconcile on the community forecast based strictly on the percentages listed in the 5-year forecast presentation. So I'm assuming the presentation applies to a different thought. So that's one question. And the classified personnel, I just want to say thank you for listing the step, the pay rate and everything else, as well as the new versus replacement status. It's very helpful. Question on classified, Mr. Lawson was approved as an assistant maintenance and grounds step 0 at the 11/20/23 meeting. It looks to be the same title and salary. So what am I missing there? I just didn't know why it was in again. Another classified question is, there's a transfer of a bus driver to a bus aide for step 21 at $21.23 for 8 hours a day. It just seems like an odd direction to transfer. It seems like it can go from driver to aide, it can go from aide to driver. And why is it 8 hours a day?
Seems like a lot of hours. The 22 summer workers seems like a lot, plus 9 student workers. I know there's deep planning involved, but can you just explain what the summer workers do? And is the IT support specialist a student? If it's a student, how can they work 8 hours a day through the end of August? It used to be a student, that's what I'm asking. And does the position, since it's virtually full-time, does it come with healthcare and retirement benefits? On the certified list, what is the extended school year services? And do we have a job description for that? Also in certified, about the curriculum map, is this something new? I just don't remember it from the past. And don't we have a part-time curriculum director, and are they involved? In the business area, the substitute pay, I just wondered what the previous pay scales were. In business, all the policies you guys took off, so I never did get an answer on why we were getting rid of the open enrollment policy, so I just wondered if you do rescind that, what's the reason for not keeping that policy around? For the MOU, I was just wondering, is the junior high / high school athletic coordinator, if it's the same athletic coordinator that was listed in the superintendent's new positions list? On the sports medicine contract, do we receive any monetary contributions or donations back from them? It seems like they used to pay us to work here, basically in exchange for advertisement. And that's it. Thank you as always for allowing me to speak and ask questions.
Now we'll go into the monthly financial report.
If I do this right. Trying. Okay, so the bank rep for April, we did balance. It took one extra day, and that's primarily because we did start a new thing in April, which was now we are taking credit cards in-house. And as part of that, those payments are posting to our books automatically, so we don't have to run a report, manually post it, do all those other things. And so that's good, but the opposite side of that is sometimes the bank will hold the deposit a day later, and that's what happened here. The deposit was made on, the last day of the month, but it was after 2 o'clock, so it got pushed to the next day, and I had to wait until the second to verify that it actually got deposited on. So, but we are balanced, so everything looks good. Pretty happy about that. Let's see if I can go back here. As discussed at the last board meeting, we are coming down to the end of the building project. We still have a few things that need to be paid for before we can close it completely out, but so we were able to transfer some of the money here into our operating budget because we'd already paid for it, through our operating budget, we get reimbursed through our investment. And we set up a new investment account for $6.5 million that is of district money. And so we're gonna, move forward with that. If you saw that on the bank reconciliation, still gives us more than 60 days cash in house so that we can move forward, just trying to get us some more revenue, and it's gonna be a laddered investment approach so we can make sure we've got some dividends coming in quicker. So, but this one is going away soon, so I can't wait till we can close the building project. Cash summary report it's a match to, of course, our bank reconciliation. We are going through these all with a fine-tooth comb this month as we stop taking purchase orders requests, and we're going to start cleaning up our accounts, making sure we have all our POs closed that need to be closed, and making sure that everybody ends with a positive number at the end of the year. So we're working on that currently in the treasurer's office. So happy to see that moving forward. So general fund report. As we look at what we had last year compared to this year, we're doing really well, right? All our revenues are coming in higher than we expected. And our expenditures are just a little bit lower than forecasted. So I always like to say, hi, we got more on the revenues and we're spending a little bit less on the budget, so that's always a good thing. So we will see how we end the year, because sometimes crazy things do happen in May and June, but at this point, I feel really good that we're gonna end the year in a good way financially. Okay, so. Probably gonna have 500 things open here. So just a revenue, snapshot of where we are. I think this is the first time in Bethel's history that the biggest portion of our revenue is coming from the Department of Education. So the highest, and that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because now we're gonna be dependent upon what the legislators do and how that funding works, but right now it's working in our favor. So with all of our payments for the fiscal year end for income taxes, we're down about 2%, which has been the norm in a lot of school districts across the state, but I think they took their hits last year and we're just sort of getting a little bit of that now. So 2%. You know, it doesn't cause me too much pause, but I never like to see revenue go down. So ODE, which is now due, revenue for the state is up, 40%, because the fair school funding formula continues to work for us. Bethel had been capped, meaning that it didn't matter how many new kids we got, they wouldn't give us more than 3% above what we got the year before. And as we know, we have seen years with 100+ kids, and that just wasn't enough to keep up with the growth. So now that that cap's been released, we've seen some big jumps in state funding for us. Now, the fair school funding formula is not 100% phased in. It's going to be phased in over 6 years. So we got one more biennium budget to hope that it does get phased in and it stays that way. But it still works for us. So we're hoping that it'll, keep going. So our revenues overall are up 21.99% compared to last year. Expense snapshot, of course, is salaries and benefits are where we are spending the most money, as we should, and purchase services come in third, and that's primarily because of our ESC contracts. I know the board has asked, and even Ms. Reese has asked about doing an analysis for the ESC and what that cost, and I got some information from Miami County ESC and their cost, and I'm going to be working on that as soon as I can. So hopefully we'll have that for the board next month's board meeting. So so we're coming in higher than last year, but we're still under the forecasted numbers for November. So that's good. And I did adjust these for May. So overall, current cash is $9,486,000, which is 164 days, which board policy only requires 60. And we do have some revenue in the 070 fund as we look to see what we need to do, if anything, for building as we go forward. So then last but certainly not least, then announce, as I explained to the board, this is when invoices are dated prior to the date that the purchase order was issued. So purchases were made without approval pretty much, or they spent more than what the purchase order was for. So let's say they got a $50 purchase order and they spent $55. That $5 makes it a then and now and requires a stamp by the treasurer and my promise that we had the money before it was spent, blah, blah, blah. The board has to approve anything over 3,000, anything under 3,000 I take care of on behalf of the board. And as you can see, through April, we had 112, and in May, we already had 3 when I did this month end report. So that puts us at 115, which is quite a bit for a district this size. So we're hoping that with looking at the data and having the data, we'll be able to make sure that that number continues to go down.
Is it any more training or?
I think so, yeah, we're gonna work on some things with administrators, because we have brand new teams in a lot of places. That's, when it's turnover like that, it's hard to get the same message across year after year, so. Gonna work on it, hopefully. So that's all of the monthly reports. Any questions? Okay, so detailed check register for the month of April. Any questions on that I haven't already answered? Open it up and roll through the 52 pages that are in there unless you want me to. Amended certificate and appropriation recap for the month of April, pretty much. And the APCOM, which shows that we're not over appropriated, we have enough revenues to pay for everything that we have in the budget, pretty much. As we continue to work forward and look at where we're at. So I'm pretty pleased with where we're at right now. But we have added some things and gotten some grants and had to make some adjustments in the budget. So that's why I'm asking you for your approval. Then we talked a little bit about this at the work session, and I'll just touch on it a little bit more. As we work to keep staff here and keep them happy with better salaries and things of that nature, I want the board to consider, now that we have funds, to set up a Bethel Schools Severance Fund, which is a 034 account, which is putting away money specifically for the payment of severance. As we have more and more people become eligible for severance, it's always a good idea to have that money set aside for that purpose so you can meet that obligation. So that's what I'm asking the board to approve here. And then the next one would be to transfer funds from the high school musical account to pay for their adult musicians. I like that much better. And transfer 300,000 from the general fund to the 035. I said 34, didn't I? But anyway, 35 severance fund for pending retirements. We always, in the past, when I've set these up in other districts, we always do one big transfer when we open it, and then we will start to monitor and see where if we need to do any future adjustments later. Okay, okay, I have Julie's list. Let's see if I can answer these. Okay, so 5-year forecast. This is the update. This is the May update. We did do our November submission. So this is taking a look at where we are now compared to where we thought we were going to be in November. Right now, we have 22.3 million in total revenue and 19.4 in expenses. So we will have 2.8 million in surplus going into next year. Sorry, nervous habit. I was looking out. So we're looking at here, we'll have a surplus each year until fiscal year 27 and fiscal year 28, when we are pretty much deficit spending. Still have cash available at the end of the year, but we're deficit spending. That doesn't scare me as much because that's a whole new biennium budget. So I'm very, very conservative with what we're going to get in the state, because I don't want us to think we're going to get 100% funded and not. So, and it's in essence impossible to forecast that far out. So we're super conservative, treasurers are, on those 2 years. And I've never seen a forecast where you weren't spending more than you receive. So that doesn't worry me as much now, but we'll keep an eye on it, make sure that we can get those things above the line instead of below. Revenue drivers, real estate is 19% of our total revenue. ODE or DEW is 44%, and income tax is now 11%. Miami County had their triennial update in 22, which led to some increases in fiscal year 23 and 24. So you'll notice on the community forecast that we did see some increases in our real estate over the last couple of years. Real estate is up 8.4%. Tangible taxes are up 10.3%. And I'm projecting a conservative growth for fiscal year 25 through 28 of just 2%. Fiscal year 23 and 24, which is our state funding, I anticipate in total receiving 7,600,000. We did receive 7,605,528 fiscal year 23 I anticipate that we will receive 10,826,721 this year. We still have 2 payments in May, 2 payments in June, so we'll keep an eye on that. So that's overall an increase of 3,221,000 or 42%. Forecasted 10% for fiscal year 25 because do have a hard time. The Department of Education and Workforce did provide us with some spreadsheets to calculate out what, based upon our enrollment, what fiscal year 25 would be. So using that, I forecasted about a 10% increase for fiscal year 25. And just 1% from fiscal year 26 through 28 in state funding, because again, we need to see what the biennial budget's gonna give us, and that 1% is pretty much for growth in number of kids that we may receive. It's very conservative, we probably will get more than that rather than less, but I would rather come to you and say, yay, we have more money, than to say, oh my goodness, we don't. So income tax is down 2.08, forecasted 1% growth in fiscal year 25 through 28. So this forecast does include continuing the income tax. So if the income tax does not pass, and we don't have a clean transition with that, that's gonna have a material effect on what we can do. And we will have to, have a meeting and discuss what else can be done. To payment, we're estimating at 3.5 to be conservative because that is up 16% in fiscal year 24. And our drivers for expenses are salaries, benefits, and purchase services. Those are our top 3 drivers and the top 3 things that we need to keep an eye on as we move forward. So overall, 7.48% increase to our expenses in fiscal year 24. Wages are forecasted with 11.5% increase to account for the new negotiated pay scales and the base raise, along with additional staff needed. And our new agreements added additional steps as well. So some people are gonna see increases of 4%. Some people are gonna see increases of 2.5%. Some people are gonna see increases of 14%, depending on where they fall in that schedule. But overall, it's an 11.5% increase. Benefits are forecasted with 5.5% increase to account for the increases in retirement for both STRS and SERS. Because when your wages go up, your retirement wages go up as well. And health insurance costs for fiscal year, we left it flat because with the changes that happened, we didn't have as much participation, so we actually were spending less. But we're looking at a 5% increase in forecasted for fiscal year 25 through 28, primarily because our loss ratio has jumped up to 81.8. So if we continue to see that kind of loss ratio each year, I expect us to at least get a 5% or more. The EPC consortium that we're part of usually caps us at 5%, but I have seen it go over that at other districts that I work at. So we'll have to keep it worked at. So we have to keep a close eye on that. Purchase services, it's forecasted with a 10% increase for fiscal year 24, more normal increases for 25, 26, 28 of around 5%. This was the first year of the new building. So now that we have a full year of utilities, propane, things of that nature, that's where the 10% increase is coming in. As well as this building doesn't operate very efficiently, so we're looking at how we can make better use of that, but that's counts for more of the 10% increase than anything else. Supplies, increased number of students, 5% more in supply costs. Equipment, I increased the forecast in fiscal year 24. No longer ESSER funds available, so we'll be having to look at how we buy technology, how we buy equipment, how we buy buses. Bus purchases are forecasted every other year for at least 2. I think that we need to build that in there. If we are able to use permanent improvement funds for that, that's great. That's not part of our operating budget, but I always like to play on the safe side of the tracks, right? And have that money set aside so that we can make a bus purchase if necessary. So had to increase our forecast for 4.03 because of auditor collection fees. When we collect more real estate money, we have higher collection fees from the auditor. And I changed the transfers out for the newly created severance fund if the board approves that. And the remaining amounts will go into the capital project funds as per the board's resolution for the next, I think, 4 years. We still have that transfer. And advances out, which would cover like grant shortages and things of that nature, and keeping it pretty low at 5,000. I hope to have all that done. So we're really looking good. Ending cash analysis. I mean, salaries are jumping up because we did do new salary schedules across the board for classified and certified, and again, those increases average based upon who you talk to and how long they've been here, because we set up what I call kickers at certain steps to encourage people to stick around and hit those steps and get additional increases. So and we have been looking at the ESC purchase services cost every year and usually eliminating 1 or 2 or what we can do to move people into as Bethel employees. So other fund balances, bond retirement, that's what we use for, if you see on your monthly reports, Fund 002, that's dedicated tax dollars to pay for, well, this building, and other, so we have to pay that debt back. Permanent improvement sits at 583. Food service is doing really well at 692. And capital projects has 1,867,000. And we anticipate general fund having 8.8 or 9 million at the end of the year. Here it says 7,052,603. State funding's increased significantly to help with our enrollment growth. Additional future growth with state funding will hopefully happen, but as I said, I didn't put that in the forecast other than fiscal year 25. So let's see. Let me see if I'm doing this right. Go back in here. And this is the community version, just because I think it's easier to read for most people. But if anybody's interested in seeing the version that has to go up to ODE, I'm happy to share that. Our DW. So this is the year that we are currently in, 23-24, that's in the black. We have $2.8 million that we are going to have in excess. So, based upon what we're spending now. We had 3.8 that we ended last year with. So those together will give us, an ending balance of 6.672. And then we're looking at, $200,000 in purchase orders that'll be outstanding at the end of the fiscal year. We can never get them all cleaned up, but we're working on that. So this number is gonna, change. We're looking at 7,773,000. Again, this is all based on if there's a change in funding from the state, that it's not going to reverse what we already have, that there won't be a cap, and that, and that I've frozen it. So we're not looking at increases beyond fiscal year 25. So if any of that changes, which we all know it can and has in the past, that will have a material effect on here. So we have to keep an eye on that. So it looks good, looks really good, but that's, like I said, because we're looking at where we are with Fair Funding Act and where we are with our income tax. So if income tax doesn't pass, or if state funding gets cut in any way, then that will drastically change. And I'm pretty proud of the fact that we were able to give staff what I think is a most deserved raise and needed, because we were on the low end in Miami County. And I am a treasurer, so by all means, I want to save money and spend as little as possible, but not that little. I mean, I've never seen salary schedules that were that low for professional people. And I certainly have worked with these teachers and classified staff for 3 years now certainly feel like they deserve more than they were getting. So I hope that they're all happy with the new salary schedules as we move forward, so. I feel like I've just talked way too much. Yeah, it is the right presentation for the forecast. But it's sort of hard to say it's 5.5% and, you know, I get it as close as I can, but, yeah, so. Unless anybody else has any other questions, that's all I have.
Excellent. So can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for the treasurer's report?
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody? Anything
So,
done?
thanks for walking us through that. I know it's a lot.
It
And you
is.
could probably go into even greater detail, but
That would be so boring for you guys. Not for me, but probably for you guys. So, yeah.
So I just had a couple of questions. So thank you. The presentations are big, so I appreciate that. So a couple of questions. So the remaining money in the building fund. Is that something that can be used for like the bleachers or renovations or trailers or?
Yeah, I think that when that fund was created and set up, it was for improvements and for necessary for growth and things of that nature. So I would go back and look at the resolution, but I think that, yeah, those are well within those parameters. So we have, like I said, I think we're on year 6. We have 4 more years to go, where we're putting 30% of all our TIF revenue, Huber Heights TIF revenue, into that fund to make sure that we have money to, if we need to do something because of the growth. But in addition to that, we've also used that 070 and our TIP revenues as collateral for what we call a certificate of participation, which is our COPS loan, to build the building, right? So we borrowed 28.5. And so we're repaying that and we're using those funds as well to do that repayment. So we just have to make sure we have enough money in there that I can certify we can make the debt payments. So, yeah.
Is there any chance of holding back a little bit more of that TIF money? Just in anticipation of.
Yeah, the board can certainly pass another resolution and set aside more if that's what you choose to do. I know our previous board had discussed it a little bit. But they wanted to make sure that we were able to, take care of the employees first. So we can certainly look at that. The thing that I've asked the attorneys to look at for me is the 070 account can only be in existence for 10 years. So after 4 years, where does that money go? Right? And so they're looking at what our options are, but yes, you can certainly do that. If the board decides they want to move 40% for the last 4 years or, whatever that number is, and we can certainly work on that if you want to do so.
But the time frame still remains the same, right?
It remains the same. We only have the 4 years because that specific account can't be for more than 10 years.
So 4 years remain.
I think so, yes. I have it written on a sticky note in my office. Taped to the walls, but I haven't looked at it today. I can see it. I know what color it is. I think it's 4, yes.
And then my last question, and this has nothing really to do with what you presented, but at one other previous board meeting, you had talked about a new P card system. Has that been implemented?
Yes, we passed out new purchasing cards to all our administrators. So each building has one. So the middle school, the elementary school, the high school, athletics, the superintendent's office, the treasurer's office. Yeah, so they all have purchasing cards now. They don't have that much credit on it, it's sort of sad. Because they have to put in a PO first and then we can adjust their credit within our office,
And it's
right?
working well.
Yeah, it is, we just started it, so I don't think anybody's jumped the gun yet and done it because it's the end of the year, but. Yeah, I know that some people have asked, can I use this for OPES training? Can I use this to do this? And I'm like, yes, just let us know what you're spending it on. So yeah, we're happy about that, yeah.
So that should drive down the then amounts, right?
I'm hoping, yes, yes, I'm hoping that will help us with that as well, yeah. You're welcome.
Wait, will you take roll, please?
Sure. Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. V?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
You've been.
I have not gotten anything. I mean, Mr. Crispin this is just the breakdown of the vacancies that we have this year. And of the 31, 17 of those are new positions. I think we're doing better than we were last year, so that's good. And as far as the classified, we're doing 5 new positions for next year, as he's discussed with the board. That's about all I know. And he's provided the enrollment for April 24th. I know we had some kids come in at 2 weeks before school ended, I think, didn't we, like 15 or something like that?
And we let them in the door.
Yeah, well, we have to, so yeah, so we did see some growth in April, which was a little, or May, which was sort of, yeah, whoa, yeah, you don't usually see it that late, but.
Kindergarten. Well.
Yes, kindergarten is blowing up. So I don't know how we want to handle this without Mr. Crispin, but I mean,
So let's go through it. So the classified personnel, we have discussed all of these, I believe, at the work session.
mhm,
And so we were, our goal was to do our discussion in the work session and be prepared to vote tonight.
Right.
So, unless the.
the only change I sort of wanted to point out is we initially thought 172 days. When we went back and sat and looked at everything, classified staff should be paid for holidays, and there are 6 that fall in their calendar. So we added it's the 6 holidays to make it 170.
Oh,
So,
I did have actually some questions.
hopefully I'll have an answer.
Okay, so the steps don't all align with what's written down
Okay,
for the classified. So I don't know. What I'm looking at and what is on. This one, I don't, it doesn't, this one doesn't have.
oh, I don't know, is this
It says it's a step 4. And I don't see any experience on that.
Is that scheduled? Is that what you do?
Well, it's on.
no, it's somebody's
It's
resume,
someone's-
yeah. I don't know, cause I know that that's handled by the superintendent's office, they tell us what step they are based on experience, so I don't know what he's looking at, if that's the first position there that he's looking at, I don't know.
But so for the classified though, it should line up, right? Was if they have 1 year experience, it'd be step 1. If they have 2 years experience, it's step 2.
Mhm. Usually, yes,
And you're saying.
but they're capped at 10, just like a teacher would be, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, that would be a Mr. Crispin question. So,
So are you saying the step in the experience is off?
And that's what I'm looking at. I don't see any experience for the position.
I'm assuming, and this is an assumption, that when Mr. Cochran meets with them, he makes a recommendation to Mr. Crispin. And I, at that point, don't know. So we'll have to,
Is it just that one then?
Of this group, yes, but there's others as well. In the. In the certain. So, I mean. I don't know how to handle that, but I'm not hesitant to vote on something that doesn't, if I have questions on it. Or that doesn't seem to align.
Are any of these newly added?
well, that one is a new position.
Is it, and that's the one that you're questioning? the new one? So we didn't get the answer for the work session, these news, but the first.
I hadn't had a chance to look at.
Well, it was on, yeah.
Resumes
Oh.
at the work session,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I don't sit there.
Right, it's a.
I just do my own staff, right? Yeah, I don't know, I don't know what Mr. Cochran or Mr. Crispin, not passing the buck here. They're the ones
I
that made that
understand, I
decision,
understand,
yeah.
Well, if you don't feel comfortable, so what's provided, you wanna vote, you could remove it, you can ask the question, and we go back and have to revote. So if it doesn't get voted on tonight, what happens?
This is, are we not voting on all four or just that one?
That's what I'm asking, or it's just the one that you have reservations about?
On this
here?
group,
On item A.
Yeah,
on this group. Yes,
and you think that we're going to be overpaying, correct?
I mean. You can pull up the resume, but I don't see experience on.
Oh. But it could have been something that came up in. Right?
I don't. I think there's the.
What isn't it? The work experience,
She's being hired as a special ed aide.
oh, I see, so none of that would. Fine. Yeah, so it looks like she has no experience.
That's what I see. Again, I don't know. What their criteria is.
Yeah, none of these match up with the position that she's from, yeah, I would say, so we can pull hers off,
Mhm.
right? And then vote on the first, or the other three. Yeah.
That's fine.
And then will you take that back to Mr. Crispin?
Okay, so this is classified. We discussed Beth and Dennis. I think Julie had a question. This is next year, so we're looking at hiring for next year. So Dennis is on there as needed with the new rate of 16.6. So that's just for next year. If they need to do that.
But he's also in there as a summer worker, so.
Yeah.
Which is a different rate, so
Mhm.
who's gonna kind of keep track of where he's at?
Mr. Bird.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I'm not gonna know. So, yeah.
I see him out there riding
Yeah.
and mowing the yard.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we added a change for Miss Montgomery, and then a change for Ashley. I apologize, Ashley, I can't say your last name correctly. And then we have the attachment for the 2-year classified contracts. Again, adding in the holidays that they must be paid for. They're not 172, they're 178.
Okay, so Shannon was added after with less than 2 days. So she was added late.
Right, she was we initially thought she was getting a salary schedule, that she was on the end of a 2-year. We went back and made sure we will double check and triple check, and she's actually eligible for continuing contract because she's completed 7 years. She started with Beth at the same time. So we wanted to get her on for a continuing contract to make sure that that was correct. But starting in 2024, 24-25 next school year.
And then the maintenance secretary is the only one that works 260?
Yes. Cause they work year round, right? The summer is actually the busiest time for maintenance and custodial staff as well as for my team, right? Cause our year ends in June and starts in July, so, but everybody else is sort of. Yeah, they're done in May and June, so. There's just a few of us around.
Yeah. I would like to see more though I mean, it seems like there is reason to have better coverage in the summer.
I would not disagree with you. I know that, I've worked at, 3 other districts and I've seen more coverage over the summer. I know that the district struggled for some time financially and there were cuts made for reasons that I'm not privy to, I wasn't here. So I don't know, that's something that Mr. Crispin and I had discussed previously and thought maybe we need to look at that. But I don't know where that is now, so.
I mean, like, even if it's. Everybody gets a little bit of an extension and there's at least one of them here throughout the summer. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with it being this late in the year, that it would be difficult to tell somebody we're adding 10 days to your contract and. That would primarily be the superintendent's job and I don't know how to.
But these contracts are for 24, 25.
Yeah, for next year, and they're all leaving, so their contracts are ending at the end of May, beginning, this week, so, yeah. I would think that they wouldn't be too happy about having days added, but that's just my opinion, so. If that's needing to be done, I have to ask John, because like I said, I'm not the superintendent, so, yeah.
No, I understand. I just, it would be nice to see. I mean, cause then I would assume that a lot falls on your office
Correct,
during
and
that time.
and Mrs. Piron. And
Right.
Jennifer, yeah, all of us, yeah, we sort of pitch in.
And that's not necessarily fair to you guys.
I plead the fifth.
Was there any more questions on those 4 individuals? We all good with those? Did you?
Again, I would just like to see no additions made to the agenda. After that cutoff point, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I understand that it was not intentional.
And then we had talked about Ms. Piron at the work session. Is there any other comments or questions?
No changes there.
And then the next 2, the transfers, I believe they were.
They were
They
both
were
on,
both.
yeah. Any changes we tried to put in green, so, yeah, so,
Any questions there?
Is there a different schedule for the bus 8 versus bus drivers? Has she been moved to, is that a different?
I think that's an aid based on her number of years. I'll have to go back and double check. I know I talked to, Mr. Crispin about that. And as we've discussed with the board, there is some research going into number of hours for aides and drivers at this point. So those may change.
Okay.
More than likely will change, yeah.
Thank you.
And then the summer workers, looks like there was 3 added,
Yes.
3 ones added.
Mhm.
And they're really like roads and round workers, right?
Yeah, as we talk, Mr. Berg would be more well versed, but I'm gonna give it a shot. We're gonna be painting a lot of classrooms. I know he's building some classrooms in the high school.
Better be.
I know we're building a couple, or at least 2 or 3, in the high school, and then there's gonna be some builds and moving around in the middle school as well as the elementary, as we all know. So he needs these people to sort of help with that. And then it's the deep cleaning for waxing the floors, painting rooms, moving furniture. It's not gonna be like it was last year, when we had to move the entire building over, but he certainly needs assistance with all of those things, so.
Any questions? Concerns? And then, the summer student workers,
Yes,
looks like that's all the same.
we added one, Evan Goodman.
And anything,
Mm-hmm.
No changes on this one.
Are the student workers, do they have to go through like do they have to go through a background check or anything like that?
No, as student workers, they just get a worker's permit, but they can't work they can only work so many hours, blah, blah, blah. So they get a worker's permit.
So there is that, a minimum age?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Once they graduate, then they're no longer students, and so they have to get a background check and go through, as summer employees.
Right.
So,
and then substitutes? I think that's all the same.
yep, that's all the same from,
The IT support specialist, that's the same.
And that, I think to answer Julie's question, I think he was in Blair.
He was.
Mr. Cook is nodding, so I assume that is correct.
No.
Not a high school,
No,
he's
it's not high
Sinclair.
school.
Yeah, he goes to college, yeah.
So this is probably helps with his
Right.
resume as he looks to.
Sinclair actually has a class for internship that they have to complete. So this is part of that.
Very nice.
Ian Beatsma, who we had previously last summer, also had the same.
So we added one resignation,
And then we had already talked about the musicians compensation.
mhm.
Yeah. And, okay, so. A motion to approve the consent agenda for classified personnel minus. Ms. Mayor. But everything else. Correct,
Yes,
can I get a motion?
I know.
Second.
And any discussion? Would you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
Yep, and I'll go on to recommendation for certified personnel. Looks like there's 2 new add-ins, from what we had
Yes.
discussed before.
I know that Mr. Swope was able to find a PE teacher, so he wanted to get him on the agenda as quickly as possible, and then their elementary school was able to finally, to make a decision on their 3rd grade teacher, so they wanted to get them on the agenda, so. Depending upon when they get through all their interviews, they like to get them on the next available board meeting for approval, so those are the 2 that were added.
I know, because they were added like literally today.
We don't read them, but we didn't.
Madison,
Madison.
yes.
Is there any questions, comments, concerns?
I just have a question. Cause I don't know, and I didn't have a chance to go back and cross-reference. Is there a difference in the step scale for a BA versus a BS?
No, it's bachelor's is a bachelor's is a bachelor's, yeah,
Okay.
just like a master's, yeah, so.
Okay.
There's BA or BS and BA, BS 150. Most of us get a BS, right?
Thanks, because for Mr. Young, his resume said BA and it was just said BS, and I just wanted to make sure.
It's a Bachelor of Arts versus Bachelor's of Science. Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it depends on the university.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I just wanted to make sure that it.
Yeah,
wasn't
no
different
change
as
in
we
the
said.
pay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Then the employee certified personnel renewal.
Hold on.
Oh, what's that?
So, again, there were some discrepancies, I felt like, in their years. The high school math teacher, again, I only count 4 years. And they're getting a step 7.
Now, I do know on, for teaching staff, for the teachers, we do send out a salary of a years of experience certification, and all their previous districts sort of say they did this many. And for teachers, a lot of them start out as subbing, so they work more than 120 days as a sub. That counts as 1 year for retirement purposes, and it also counts as 1 year for experience purposes, and when we're counting that. So I don't know if that's the case for both of the, for the individual that you're questioning, because, you know, again, I don't set that, but I do know that we have a lot of instances where that happens, because they'll start out subbing, and then they'll get a year or 2 under their belt with that. So.
Well, those are just the courses that we're taught, I mean, so. Here is. Here is this. I don't know, it just, it done that up.
In this list.
This one. And. The. Reading specialist.
The two.
So we're talking about the high school math teacher, which reading specialist?
The first one.
Okay.
Boom. Move on.
Are you still? Are you still?
Yeah, one, we're doing anything. Not for that list.
Okay, so then we have Julie Bransom for a 1 year renewal. And then Laura, that is, Wolford, who needs a continuing contract. And then Miss Harding, who's gonna go from being an EL teacher to the EL coordinator, so teacher on special assignment. And then we had 2 teachers turn in, additional transcripts, credits that they've earned that moves them up on the, pay scale, and rather than make them wait until September, we go ahead, if the board would approve it, then we can start their new contracts out with the right amount, rather than having to recalculate it again in September or October. And then, so we're on to the supplements.
So if we could go back to the EL coordinator,
Mhm.
so that is a teacher on special assignment.
Yes. So she's being paid as a teacher, so she's staying on the teacher's pay scale and he's giving, I think she's doing 10 or 15 extra days. So she's not,
She doesn't have an administrative.
she doesn't have an administrative license. Now on the supplementals. It was this one that you wanted removed, right? Okay.
Oh, well, no,
No, it's on
Yeah,
12.
sorry,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, got the wrong.
But we did have,
Yeah.
well, I had a question and I'm not sure what extended school year services were. I did not have time to go back and try to listen to see if there was anything spoken to that last week.
It's a,
I didn't remember.
yeah, it's special education services. Usually it's in their IEP where we say this student needs extended school year, so they need assistance over the summer so that there's
Okay.
not a learning deficit when they come back. We have a teacher that's volunteered and very qualified to do that. And that's our summer rate at $35 per hour. So it's per their IEP and their needs is assessed by the special education department. Typically, it's done as home instruction. I think that's the case here too, but they can also do it here if that's what the family wants. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Probably haven't seen it often. It's not done a lot, so special circumstances.
And just for that one student?
Yeah.
Can they do more than one?
So I think I asked this at the work session and we didn't really get, I don't know, I talked about it, but the way that the supplementals are kind of doled out, I guess, we can see the same person over and over and over again on that. I'm curious as to what the process is.
We're the only ones that would do it. I'm just gonna speak. I
I know the
we give them a lot of our
principals.
time to do it,
No, no,
and there are
right.
teachers that just don't wanna do it. So if I have to have 3 supplementals, I'll do 3 supplementals.
And that's fine, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I mean, some people have 7 anymore, so my question was, and you all weren't, I don't know if you all. You know, is it, you know, does the list go around and then?
Yes, we fill out a form, they ask, it comes from,
So no
Yeah.
one's being turned
Yes.
away
no,
because
no,
no one's banging down your door going, I want
I wanna
that.
do
no,
my
you're banging down our
services.
door saying, hey, you wanna do student council, you wanna do this, you wanna do that?
You know, we have more teachers and less workers.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more participation. You know,
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
right.
So if you see somebody with that many, it seems like, well, they're really taking a lot of the green that nobody else can get a chance to do, so we don't,
Very
that's what
giving
it,
staff member.
that's what it looks like when we don't know that, so thank you.
Okay.
Looks like what it can look like.
Correct.
These are they hosted student teachers, the college sent us the money, we're taking out the employer cost and sending the money to the teachers where the person will feel like it belongs, so. Yeah, just need your approval to pay that, it's no money out of our pocket, we're just turning it around.
So on the supplemental, it has resident educator mentor.
Mhm.
So is that because they are stepping up saying, yeah, I'll take?
No, that's different from
Something
hosting
different.
a student teacher.
Okay.
And ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a requirement when you're a brand new teacher that you have to have a resident mentor. You have to have a mentor assigned to you and teach you the ins and outs and everything that you're required to
Okay.
do as a teacher. And I think it's like, 2-3 years that they're
There's
having.
meetings you have to attend
Yeah.
and other things you have to do.
So the mentor gets paid the $1,000 stipend for their time and effort in
Okay.
helping those new teachers.
Perfect, thank you.
I just have one quick question about the extended,
Oh, yeah, for Angela?
yeah.
Okay.
Does the 10 days before school?
I
Or
think
just
that's something that, yeah, they're gonna work together on, the superintendent and her, yeah. Miss Harding, I don't know if she's doing 5 at the beginning and 5 at the end, because there's testing and scores that have to be reported in May, so it may be 5 and 5, it may be 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it just, he's asked her to work an additional 10 and she's agreed, and it would be at her per diem, whatever she makes as a teacher, so, yeah.
I just wondered, yeah, if there was something special.
Yeah, I would think it's 5 and 5, but I don't know, because I know we have some testing at the end and Jennifer, Miss Mason is always running around trying to get those scores together, so we're hoping that that is gonna help do that, so.
Thank you.
I did have a question. So, she was, it says for administrative experience,
Mhm.
but, the way that I understood it was, what'd you say about the experience? That it's not the years.
It's
right?
not, yeah. I never count years for an administrator most of the time because it's mastery of skills, so how well you do your job. But I guess for Miss Hogan, he didn't count her years of experience as an assistant. And he felt like he should have at the beginning because she came in knowing things that we didn't have to train her to do. So he's asking the board to make an adjustment there.
So she's not necessarily entry level, because she's never been a principal.
She's
before,
never
right?
been a principal, but she has been an assistant, I think for 3 or 4
3
years,
years.
yeah.
So this document in there, that's just a statement, is that Mr. Crispin's statement? Or is
I
that Mrs.
assume
Hogan's?
so, yes.
Cause it's.
It's not mine.
It's not dated for sign.
You're supporting data.
Yeah,
It just is like.
And so she was an assistant principal, which is
that's
not,
my understanding, yeah,
not the same as-
administrative experience,
Right.
yeah.
but not the same as being an actual principal. But she's already close to the max, so you said she has her master's,
That is
right?
correct, yeah.
And so the master's scale was 80-250 to 95-250. So even coming in with 3 years experience just as an assistant and no experience as a principal, she's already close to the other end of the pay scale. I agree. I mean,
And like I said, there was no supporting documents other than the statement that was attached to that, so there's not.
I guess this is another one that I would like more information on. That I think that she's too high on the. We're just adding 3 years, and even if that was the case, then we had hired her in already way over. Over the, closer to the higher end.
That would be Mr. Crispin,
Right.
yeah, I don't wanna
I'm just
misspeak
saying
and
it's
say
just-
something wrong.
It's not you.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Just a suggestion, what might be helpful, even though they're current employees to.
Mhm.
For the, I know she was just last year, so.
Yes.
It wouldn't be hard to get her.
Yeah.
Some of the folks, because everybody is so new and some of the folks have come in
Mhm.
recently.
I can ask Miss Piron to do that because my payroll stuff doesn't have
Yeah,
that stuff in
Yeah.
it, so it's always gonna come from the superintendent's
just a
office.
suggestion.
Yeah,
And then that helps.
I will make that suggestion to Mrs. Piron. Supplemental contract, this is for Ashley Welsh, she's middle school cheer. And for some reason, she got overlooked and sometimes one just falls through and she's been waiting patiently for her pay. So if we could get her approved, I'd like to pay her. So that's Ashley. And then leave of absence for the board to approve. Then we have resignations. We've added 3. Mr. Quinchell has decided to retire. Ms. Williams is resigning as an EL teacher, and Mr. Crispin. Then we have the curriculum map development. And these are all elementary people, yeah. So I think curriculum maps are done per grade level. So,
Subject.
and subject. So that's why you have some.
Yeah, that list isn't too extreme, I didn't think. You?
No, we're
No.
looking at how many different things are taught in that building.
No.
And
I thought we had asked though for a cap. When we, at the work session, we talked about capping it to,
I thought we talked about days.
I mean,
Yeah.
but that is all summer. I mean, like,
I guess I was just saying, let's get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not going every single day for every single week to do it.
So for example, I'm going in tomorrow to do my mapping. We have reserved 4 hours the next 3 days for 4th grade ELA to see where we land. We
Yeah.
don't know.
You don't know until you start the process.
so what you're saying, just for clarification, is that it's not like every one of these teachers are gonna be 8 hours a day from May 22nd to
No.
August.
We wouldn't-
You are not gonna be there
You're not. All summer.
No.
every day in that building, okay.
Not enough,
Thank
that's
you,
not 30
again, for the
that's not enough.
clarification, because that is not clear on this. It, the
And
way-
frankly, dividing and conquering, by having my 2 ELA teammates with me, we can take a unit and knock it out a lot faster if each of us do a unit than if I sit here and try to do my whole grade level by myself.
Right,
It really is, the more hands, the lighter the work in this.
and that's fine, I just wanted to get clarification as
Correct.
well on, like,
No, it will not be all summer, we don't wanna be here all summer.
Right, I think because
In
there's
and
so
out.
many going on, Mr. Crispin just put that time frame in there, giving everybody the flexibility because they are coming in during
And they
the
want it
break.
done to start the
Yeah,
next academic year.
and we
Yeah.
wanna
right,
get
and
it
we
done,
want it
yeah.
for the next
Mhm.
academic year, I think that
So.
is much agreed, yeah, yes.
And then I just had a follow-up. Do you know if, maybe it's all in the timing. If there's any new teachers coming in, I've asked if there was any possibility that they might be asked to join, but maybe based on their hiring and when they start and that is that.
It would be difficult for a brand new teacher to do it, not ever teaching the curriculum.
Mm.
You really have to have experience with the curriculum to know how to map it. And coming in cold would be very, very challenging for someone to do it, never teaching the content.
Okay.
Yeah.
You answered the
Thank you.
question, so can I ask one too?
Uh-huh.
So should we expect then middle school and high school to be doing the same?
I will, yeah.
I mean, is it a middle school, is this just a elementary thing, or is it a middle school, high school?
No,
thing?
anybody can curriculum map.
We're all just like, we don't know.
Anybody.
Like you did in the past, years ago.
We've had them.
If you have a
It's
coach.
fallen by the wayside probably the past at the elementary 10 years, but when I started to, we always had them.
Yeah.
We always, yeah.
So when you say map, do you mean like day 1 through 5, we're gonna do spelling and then?
Yes and no, you look at period of time, you look at taking the curriculum and matching it to the content standards. You look at cross grade level and what is 3rd grade doing versus what's 5th grade doing for me, looking above and below. There's a lot of pieces that you want
Gotcha.
to look at, it's very horizontal and vertical.
Gotcha. And then I imagine if we bought a new curriculum, that would jack up your mapping.
Yep, sure would.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
But your ELA curriculum though works with the new science of reading, right?
Yes,
It-
we were
it's
one
an
of the first
approved vendor?
districts to be ahead of the game in
Okay.
science of reading.
So you don't
Yes.
have to.
We are on the approved state list. The elementary is significantly farther in the science of reading process than most districts.
Yeah, cause most are.
Thanks to our
most
previous
are-
curriculum director.
Most are trying to find a
Yep.
curriculum that
Correct.
is on the list.
We are on the list.
Well, that doesn't
That's
happen
written
very.
wisdom.
Yes, wit,
That's a
wisdom
written
and
wisdom.
integrity,
Yeah.
which are used
Oh,
in
yeah.
conjunction, are both on the list.
Yeah.
And have been from the start and haven't been removed.
Yeah,
where
We've
some are
been
being
using
taken
that
off.
for the
of
3
yeah.
years I've been here, yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
It is huge because we're in year 4 of that process and
Yeah.
most people are starting year 1.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really great.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's see some of those. It is what it is. I mean, don't need them now.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda minus, we had minus Ms. Hogan, correct?
There was
And
some up there.
Mr. Salas,
Chelsea.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes, and
And was there? That was it, right?
Yes, I thought Chelsea early.
Hogan. Those are the three that.
Anderson, yeah,
I marked.
okay, Hogan, Anderson, and so.
Oh, okay, that's the answer. Oh, answer.
So can I get the motion excluding those three to approve them?
Because there's no supporting
Just
document.
the.
Mhm.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
We're discussing.
But
I think the kind of.
it's on.
It's on your, I know, your checklist, discuss, okay.
Ms. Hagan, will you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
I made this a separate issue so the board could vote on it separately. This is the resolution declaring the necessity of raising $2,370,000 annually for school district purposes. So it's a renewal of the income tax to be this one, all that fancy stuff just means that you're giving me authorization to contact the Ohio Department of Taxation to get a good number. And they'll certify that for us, and then that will be the second, you'll get the second resolution in June. To place it on the ballot, and I deliver both of those to the Board of Elections. So, and that's when we'll get the ballot language in the second resolution.
Okay, good. Thank you. So can I get a motion to approve the income tax resolution of necessity?
I'll move. I'll second.
Discussion? Would you take roll, please, Ms. Olney?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
Okay, scholarships. Just need the board to approve, the following awards, scholarships, nothing's changed from the work session. Ticket prices and sports passes. The contract to get a second school resource officer that will be doing the middle school and high school.
When might we can?
I think he may know, I don't know, I'll have to
It
ask,
seemed like at the work session,
Yeah,
knew
Yeah,
that
incline.
he
wasn't sure, yeah.
100%.
So I'll have to ask him when he gets back Thursday, I think, so I'll ask him then, yeah. Substitute pay, we're going from $100 a day to $125. And then uninterrupted days 1 through 30 is $125 instead of 100. Uninterrupted days 31 to 60 go to $225 instead of 200. And then day 61 per the Ohio Revised Code, they get prorated and placed on the teacher's schedule. Hoping to get more people interested in helping us because as you noticed, we're not getting a lot of people. So Mr. Cook is still here if you have questions, and there is the Chromebook proposal we discussed at the work session.
He'd answered all my questions at the work session. Does anybody else have any?
I just want to make sure that the cycle stays the same if we're not letting them go out the door.
Yes. I'm modifying it to accommodate, yes, but it's still in a year.
It's still the same.
Yes.
The
Okay,
tech refresher, right? That you did,
yeah. Okay.
And you're going with the proposal you recommended, right?
Yes.
That's,
Okay, so F has been taken off the agenda as G.
That's a year.
Okay, so then we're on to the MOU for supplementals. And Miss Donahue, this is the one,
This is the
right?
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is
Just
the one.
First one.
We're only approving the Just Right Ohio MOU
For tonight.
for tonight. Any questions on that? Uh. Yeah, this hit hard. Typically, the catering package is something that they would provide for free, or I hate to say for free, but there were, services that they provide, they can no longer do that, so they've gone to all the districts that they do that with and need a contract, so now we have to pay for those services. So yes, Mrs. Reese is correct, it used to be done. On a volunteer sort of basis. I don't think Kettering wants to continue that service. I think that that's a service that they don't think is profitable. I don't know. I wasn't party to the discussion, but in order to continue the services, which we all know is important to have those people on the sidelines, we need the board to approve the packet option 2. Which Mr. Smith and Mr. Crispin discussed and chose that. So, the new contract. It's a little bit expensive, but it's necessary, so. That's my 2 cents.
Once we get that, all this on the agenda, then we can. Yeah,
and the motion.
or once we motion, then we can discuss.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all we have under that.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for the business items? Except for the first MOU. The item G to rescind the policy 5113 and item F to remove the Neola policies. And that was it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I just wanted to ask about the options. The buy-up options for the Kettering Health. Because the base package is 64.5, and there's the silver package and the gold package. What was the final decision about?
Which package are we getting?
Yeah, bottom line.
I think it's this
2.
silver package option 2, yeah.
Oh, good, cause I was,
Yes.
it's got the PASP for their coaches and
Mhm.
then the
The stop, the
CPR,
bleeding
the
and
CPR
CPR,
training.
yeah.
2 scholarships.
So did we shop around? Like, did we find out if Premier would offer these services or, I mean,
I can't answer that, I don't think so. I mean, I think we were sort of taken by surprise, that this was changing for us. So I don't think anybody has done that yet, so we're continuing with the current athletic trainers that we've had here, so.
She's really good, and we ended up with her because I know about the history, we were blindsided years ago with Premier dropping us because we were too small. And so Kettering picked it up, and Christina's awesome,
And she did everything.
and she goes above and beyond taking care of everybody and everything, and she's a good deal, she's a good deal, definitely. So I don't know that Premier's either, because we had the same thing happen, they pulled out on us and we had to scramble.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Smith has said good things about her and wanting to keep her
Yeah.
around, so.
I mean, she's built a rapport and she's just really,
I mean,
she goes the extra mile and she's really good.
So we should expect to see like that 64.5 or 67.5.
67.5.
Yeah.
Thank you.
any more discussion? Ms. Hagan, would you roll please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Beat?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger? It's getting late, I'm getting punchy, see, I'm getting people's names wrong.
I mean, I can call him.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on with your presentation? What's next?
You just bring it up real quick. You would, please? And then scroll down. Anyway,
Okay,
and so, at the work session, we brought this up and I wanted to get everybody's input and to see if this is something maybe we could do either monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, something like that, but just to highlight some of the good things that are going on, some of the things that we do behind the scenes, or especially like you guys do behind the scenes that we would never see. We'd like to, I envision adding more to this, but for right now, it's just a sample, just a
right.
but teachers, staff, bus drivers, whatever, just do some sort of highlight, but that's down the road. But for right now, I know you're working hard and doing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to highlight some of the things that happen behind the scenes that people probably don't know what you got going on. So want to thank you for that as well. And if there's anything that you'd like to, you know, elaborate on, so you can
So yeah, the first one, we've opened a new investment account, 6.5 million laddered investments. So I'm hoping that we'll have additional interest income before, in my opinion, interest rates start to tank again. Then we did meet with all the principals and department heads. We're getting them involved in the budgeting process. And we're getting that information back now, so Mr. Crispin and I are gonna sit and go through their wants and their needs and see if we can help with the supplies that teachers buy on their own and things of that nature. So we're on the end of that as we move to get into the new year, so
and this is all new, right? Like
this is new, yeah.
This hasn't been happening before.
No, so I did a new credit card payment process, so our secretaries will be able to take credit card payments. July 1 on for all class fees. We're hoping to add that for prom and other student activities. So, you know, not a lot of people carry a whole lot of cash and we don't want to have a lot of petty cash in our building. So we're hoping that that'll help us eliminate some of the cash and the concerns that brings. So, and I know some community members like to come in and pay in person and would like to use credit card or debit card. So we're hoping that that'll help us collect some more of our class fees and get things moving in the right direction. So,
We appreciate it, thank you. But these are all new, I know you do a lot more than this, but.
yeah, those are new processes we're
New
working.
initiatives and thank you.
And the P cards.
And the purchasing cards, yes, so.
Alright, next please. And then also accomplishments, so some of the stuff, the good stuff that's going on. When we first took our seats on the board, there was some concern about the fencing over at the elementary school. And so that's in the works to get fencing, so the little kids can run off onto Augenbrock and they're contained in the play area. The new board members spent a weekend to attend a 2-day training for one-on-one, so we can learn better about our roles and responsibilities. And it had a lot of good speakers and whatnot, and we learned quite a bit and stuff, and then found more resources and places to go and places we can go for help. So that helped tremendously. We initiated the monthly briefers. And that helps us get educated on school operations. Now I can change that number, it was 11, but I think you just mentioned that number is even higher, but.
Yeah.
You know, coming on the board, that was a big thing too, that we needed more teachers and there's more students and larger classes, so the new hires can reduce the class size, as well as the math teachers. In middle school had been asking for 90-minute block for many years, from what I understand, and now they have that, and so they're pretty excited about that. We had gone over as a board and one member was unable to make it because of work schedules. But the 4 other members did tour the elementary building, visited a lot of the class, well, actually visited all the classrooms. We spoke to a lot of teachers, got to see the kids in action. I mean, there was a lot going on, saw them playing. I mean, we just struck it at a really great time, but it gave us a visual of what was going on. We also had intentions of coming over to middle school and high school. But the only one we could hit before school got out was this. And we had asked for it earlier, like later in the winter, but we were afraid to interrupt the testing, preparation and whatnot. And so we really didn't, we didn't want to get that off track. So next year, our intentions will be to go in and also do that same to the middle school and high school and see it in action, see what the hallways do look like and the students and whatnot. And I would like to highlight that 3 board members did have to take off time from their work to go and do that. So that was really cool. And then there was 4 board members I mentioned before had attended the Huber Heights Council meeting, and then 3 that gave the statement. So we are working hard and trying to make things better and do that kind of stuff. So just wanted to highlight some of those. And then initiatives. I was afraid that we were losing the bubble on some of this stuff because there's so much we want to do, so many ideas that everybody has.
There goes that bubble again.
And so I brought this up at the work session, asking the board if this is something we'd like to do or whatever, and it sounded like that we had a go ahead, but we would start prioritizing our initiatives. And so, and then agreeing on what those initiatives are, and then prioritizing them, and then tying them to the strat plan, both the goals and the objectives. And so then that means that that's what the plan is for. The strategic plan is to keep us on track. So if this doesn't line up, if any of our initiatives don't line up with the strat plan, then it probably shouldn't be an initiative. And so that's, and then we can start tracking that. And then this was just some more of the initiatives, and then also in action items. So a lot of, especially like during these meetings, there's a lot of times that actions come out of here. And so this is one way to start keeping track of those better and making sure we have updates and making sure they get on the agenda so we can discuss if needed. And the strat plan is gonna be one of ours. And then the SIOP training, we're hoping, do you have any more updates on
I do not.
SIOP training?
Mhm.
So we were hoping that's supposed to take place before August, because the teachers were gonna use their professional days to do that. So when Mr. Christman comes back, perhaps we could get an update on that, but I thought we were ready to go with that one. And then you had mentioned the cost benefit analysis for ESC positions. And then and the school calendar, the middle school promotion, I think that maybe we'll call it a promotion, that's right, not a graduation, yeah.
I'd like
And
to
then
see the same though with them.
yes, yeah, that was just fresh, because that was something that new that this happened.
But we asked for that.
Oh, okay. But that was a,
I mean, for these.
oh, gotcha, yes, yeah, because that really should be on the school calendar. And so, right, and if they do intend, so they went through the first one, I've heard a lot of good things about it, I was there, it was really nice. And so that's something that probably should be on the school calendar, because when it came out, my kid was telling me a month in advance, but before it got out to the public, it was probably a month before. And so it would just help for families and stuff like that to have it on. Yeah, so I think that was gonna be it. But that was the intent of the action items, is keep track of that. And those items will probably, that list will get longer, but certainly we won't do all 20. We'll just maybe talk about the top 5 that we got going on or something. Or we can share if we get the website updated where we can post a lot of the stuff there, people can go out and look at all of the lists. And then maybe we'll just talk about the top 5 or something like that. But that was the intent here with this. Tracy.
Okay, about a month ago, we had our senior awards night, which was one of the favorite ones I love going to. Dish out that money, but the BEA scholarship, a couple years ago, we renamed it the Jody Hawkins Spears Memorial Scholarship. And this year we gave out 3. Jenna Herzer, Daisy Horner, and Adam Cartwright. Allison Cartwright. Sorry, Allison, sorry. Pretty well deserving young ladies that I think Mrs. Spears would love. Today is my last time I'll address you. Aaron and I are no longer going to be union president and vice president. I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Mindy Campbell will be the union president and Mr. Casey Dellinger will be the vice president. Some words of advice. Be kind to each other in general. I've been to many, many board meetings. And I'm not gonna lie, I've left crying. The whole way home, and I live I live far away. There have been times in the last 8 years of my presidency that I didn't want to wear a Bethel shirt anymore. And I've been here for 24 years. So please just be kind to one another and trust us. I have 2 degrees. I know what I'm doing. I have the experience. Trust us. Your superintendent, your treasurer, your maintenance, your teacher, trust us. In my 8 years of presidency, I just wanted to give you a little numbers of what has gone on in the past 8 years. I've worked with 3 superintendents, 12 principals changes, 14 Board of Education members, at least 5 treasurers, 3 athletic directors, 3 negotiation contracts. We've had teacher and student tragedies, some scandals, a global pandemic, and breast cancer.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart. And you made it look easy.
Facilities committees?
I'll set up an agenda, we'll, Mr. Crispin and I, agreed that, half-hour meeting prior to our next regular board meeting, to kind of kick off the next, a great reset and pick up where we need to, so, 6:30. I forget what day we decided that, June, 18th, I believe, yeah, June 18th
Yes,
at 6:30.
at 6:30, correct.
That's real long.
These and reports?
Didn't have a lot of feedback, because everybody was gone except tonight. A little baseball team went to regionals and they tried really, really hard, and Christian pitched 2 innings, no hitters, but they came up short. They lost 6-3 to CJ. So they're just a great bunch of kids, and I can't say enough about their coach. When he came in, he was just so cute. He looked like a little 12-year-old. And he had a crazy bunch of kids. The Bad News Bears, I don't think most of them, he was shocked by their schoolwork. He set up study tables. He just knew he was gonna build a program, and he's just such a great guy. I can't say enough about what he's done to turn the baseball program into what it is today. So those boys deserve a pat on the back. So coaches.
The strategic plan vendor review.
Are we gonna do the
Oh.
other reports?
Yeah, so I gotta ask a question. I don't see the OSBA legislation on the agenda.
Agenda?
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, it's- Oh, my bad. Okay, sorry. Okay.
So, House Bill 250 just passed limiting cell phone use in schools. So it directs boards to establish some policies around that. So that was something new that just happened. They're also renaming the military enlistment seal to the military seal, and they are setting some guidelines around how students would learn that. So those are kind of like the two big ones that stood out. Some new bills that are being introduced, so we'll see where they go, you never know on these, but House Bill 525, which changes a penalty for an assault on a school employee. That would be something probably to have in place to make those some clear parameters around that. House Bill 563 is to give some financial support for student teachers, especially those that are independent. So that's something that's being proposed. None of these things are done deal. These are just things that are just coming out. So, and another one, House Bill, I think if I can read my writing, I believe it says 571, but is to provide crisis line and suicide prevention information on IDs and implanters for students. So that's just, that is all I have.
And for the CTC, it's just very short, they had they called their senior recognition ceremony was held at UD Arena last Friday, May 17th at 6:30. And Bethel had 41 seniors that were recognized and graduating from CTC that night. And we all know that the school year went fast, but summer will go faster. And I looked it up today and boy, they start early. They can pick up their juniors and seniors can pick up their schedules August 5th. And then the juniors start on the August 12th and the seniors will start the next day on the 13th. So that'll go really fast. And that's really all I had for this month. Well, thank you.
That's it. Okay, and then the strategic plan vendor review.
We have lots of thoughts around this. Personally, I think that this is something that we can. I don't think that we should spend that kind of money on it right now. At least we can, I don't know, that's just my opinion. I think that we can. We've got a lot of stuff on our plate and a lot of things that we need to do, including hiring superintendent. And I believe that we can take the structure of what we have and use it to build something usable for now. That's my opinion. I mean, I was dumbfounded by the amount of money that all of those places were.
Some, when there's
Well,
two that I thought was pretty reasonable.
one of which I would never.
Right.
But still, even still, I think for the. That's my opinion. Next.
Yeah, we're gonna have an interim superintendent. And I think I agree, we have our strat plan set up and we can work within that and refine it and kind of be in a holding pattern, but I don't wanna throw an interim superintendent and then a new superintendent and then a strap. I'd like our superintendent that is gonna be the Bethel superintendent to have a stake in the strategic plan that we're formulating for the district. So I think I wanna hold that in abeyance for a while and take this year to work with our interim, find a good fitting long-term, long-staying superintendent and then formulate a strat plan with him or her.
I would agree. I think that makes the most sense. I would still vote for hiring somebody to help us. I would still go with that route, but we have a lot of
Yeah, we-
resources now. You know, but with the new superintendent coming on board, that person has to have to buy.
Yeah.
As well. I agree, that makes sense. So we'll, okay, you guys.
I agree.
I'm okay with that. And I do want to thank you, Jackie, and you, Rachel, for taking the time to participate in interviews. And did you get to do one too? And thank you, Tina. I'm sure you sat in on these too. No, Tina's like, I know that takes time and then the follow-up.
But I do feel like the strat plan is a priority, that we
Yeah.
need one, and
Agreed.
we have to. Have
And
it.
I believe that we can work on it.
Yeah.
You know, we can work
Work
within
within
the.
it.
Yes, for right now.
With what we
Yes.
have, exactly,
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah, and I go to just fine tune how we feel, you know, the community and everything, take what they want. And then do it ourselves right now, and then when we get the new super, then get on board with, we'll do the community involvement and the surveys and all of that.
Kind of in a whole.
Yeah. And so, what I'm gonna do then, if everybody's in agreement with it, I'll reach out to each of those folks and let them know that, you know, because we literally this just happened to me. So, we wouldn't have known. Or they wouldn't have.
Right.
We didn't know that.
We didn't know that when we were reaching out.
Right, yes, and then I'll let them know, so. I can give them a kind of a time, we'll just re-engage at a later date, but I will reach out to them, and let them know. Very soon. Alright, and so I'm gonna move forward. And now, public participation, ready, Zoe? Yep. All right, Mrs. Donna Hughes.
Donna Hughes, 9360 South Man Road. Thank you for this beautiful thing sent to the house. I was able to follow what the kids are doing in my area. 5 generations after all, my kids are great. I like the pictures in that. There was one thing that they had out here that I did not like. He's not there now. It's something about old people rule, go ahead and register to vote. That just struck me as pitting old people against young people. It's not there anymore. It's down. That sign is down.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear, what is it?
There was a sign that said, old people rule, register to vote.
Where?
It was in the
Where?
school.
Yes, right around the corner. It's not there now. It is down. This is also a maintenance thing. Under the hand dryer in bathrooms, use paint that will reflect, that where water won't wash off the paint. Underneath it, the hand dryer that's there, it's beginning to wear off the paint already. And thank you for trying to help me with print. And Tina, thank you.
Tina's fault. You're okay.
Thank you, Miss Tina, for doing all that paperwork for me. Now I have to use my Bethel math to figure it out.
If you need help, just holler.
I need a correction with, Madam President. The initial 265 acres was to have 1,300 family homes. I don't know where he's getting 1,200. He's got 30 more acres to go. Plus he has another 15 acres north of Carriageville Road, west of 201, south of that addition. So he's gonna have more homes. Plus the 8 acres south of Carriageville Road, west of 201, will have 160 units in that area. If you want, instead of having a town meeting, every one of you who have friends in Huber Heights, call them, ask them to call initially and individually email the people saying you don't want that their residents do not want it. I've heard rumors that the Huber Heights police do not go into parts of Carriage Trail, they just don't go. I heard a story where a woman built her dream home in Carriage Trail 2 and decided to sell at a loss because of the problems in Carriage Hill 2. Did the developer say whether or not he bought any land north of US 40 that lady owned?
He did not.
Because if he had bought that land, he'll now build into north of 40. Mayor Gore said that the new homes will generate only 0.5 person per home based on the previous stats. Well, the previous stat can not be good because these are 1,300 family homes. In that section of Carriage Trail, there are multiple kids, many kids. I do not know how many kids per home, but it's a lot. I have a question that I need for you to address. I would like for you to have a policy on furries. Those are the people who think they're a cat or a dog. And what I would like for you to think about on that policy is human animals go to human schools. If the human animal is a cat or a dog, they will not go to human school. So they have to identify as a child, not a cat, not a dog. And that's a policy I think we need to put in, because it's in. There is a child identifying as a cat who uses the litter box in the back of the classroom in Huber. Tip City and Troy has them too. Tip City has them, I know. I also want to try and congratulate Bethel being number 7 beat out of like 400 some high schools. We're in the top 15% of the US public high schools, according to my Bethel math. And I have a really tough time with when I hear, not that I don't respect the teachers, it's what they're required to teach. And I would have to ask the teachers this: are you teaching to test, or are you teaching to think by the state standards? And like I said, I don't know, but what I'm hearing is they don't get to educate the kids, because when you ask those students who are writing in college campuses, the river to the sea, one student said the Hudson River. It's the Jordan River in Israel. They did not know history. And I also want to verify that you will use the word, the federal holiday Christmas break and not winter break for the school 24-25 school year. That's what I'm asking for, to align with the federal holiday. And again, thank you for letting me speak. Done. Thank you very much. And thank you for your 8 years.
And now we have Mrs. B.
Yeah, I don't need to come to the podium. I just have one request. The statement that you read tonight, could you email me that? I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all.
Great, that was it for public participation. Now I'd like a motion to go into executive session for reason number 1, employment and compensation of a public employee.
Mrs. Leskowitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling.
Yes.
And we are going in at 10:37 p.m. Thank you. I do. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Karen.
Not an easy one.
I don't know who I'm gonna give a hard time to.
I'm
I'm still gonna give you. I'm still gonna give them a hard time.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Community help in hard times, I'm an expert.